Guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Chris, and in today's video I'm going to show you guys how to make a custom DIY DWC system using a 5-gallon bucket. Now, for this to work, you're going to need some tools. Okay, you need a hole saw. Now this hole saw right here is specifically made to house a 3-inch net pot. Okay. We also need, because this is DWC, we're going to need an air pump for the plants for aeration. Okay, this is a two outlet system right here, and I picked this up because I can turn it down and turn it up as needed. And we also got some line, and I got some air stones and stuff like that came with it. And there's a couple of different ways that we can do this. We can either, after we drill the top here, we can drill a couple holes on the very top and we can feed our air lines through that. Or what you can do is you can actually drill into the bucket or the reservoir itself and you can feed your air lines through that. But what I'm going to do in this video is I'm actually going to do a little something kind of unique. And I have a foam cutting tool, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put in slits on the top here, and that way the line just kind of sits up there. So if you've ever seen the Spider Farmer buckets, I'll put a B-roll of that here shortly, and you can see like the slits, and I'm going to do something similar to that. But if you don't have a foam cutting tool, or if you just want to make holes in the top of your lid, feel free. Like I said, this is DIY. You can kind of create any design you want to, but I do like to have the net pot sitting on top of the lid. So we have our tool. Now it's very important that when you do this, when you make your cut, what you're going to do is you're just going to cut into the lid just until it catches, okay? And then you're going to flip it into reverse, okay? The reason you don't want to keep going into that, I guess it's a clockwise direction, is because you'll cut up your lid, okay? You'll cut up the plastic. We want a nice clean cut, so bear with me here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it in the center, okay? And you see how it caught? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it in reverse, okay? We're going to press down a little bit. So we're going to put this on drill down. Okay? My tool actually came off, but you get the idea. So let's do that again. Just make sure everything's nice and clean. I didn't have a good grasp on it, but you can see the hole that I cut. It's nice and clean. There's no rough edges or anything like that. Okay, and we didn't kill the bucket, right? We don't want to kill this top here, even though I did not make the cleanest cut that I could possibly make. All right, but still, it's nice and smooth, okay? And that's what's important. Now I need to get this lid off. And this stuff can be a little messy, especially with that plastic. Man, these Menard lids. Pretty good lids. They're nice and tight. Okay, so let's go ahead and dump this in the trash. Okay, we don't want any of that. I'm gonna go get a net pot. All right, so now we got our net pot lid. Let's verify the net pot works. Like I said, this is a 3-inch net pot. Boom, sits in there perfectly. You can see that. Okay, we have a good, it's not gonna fall through. Okay, I'm bending on this and it's on there, it's stable. So now our lid's done. Now what we need to do is we need to figure out what we're going to do on the outside here. Now, like I said, there's a couple of different methods you could use in order to do this. You could use you could do what I do and have a tool that you can make slits in the bucket. If you don't have a tool and you have a drill, obviously you can just drill into the lid itself to put your air stones in and your air lines. You could do it on the reservoir itself. However, what I would say, if you're going to drill into your reservoir, you might want to get the rubber grommets. That way you don't have any kind of water spillage. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to be doing is we're going to be putting slits in our bucket here. Okay. Now I am going to be using a tool that can burn foam and it can also burn plastic. If you're doing this inside, I strongly suggest you either wear a mask or wear a respirator, some kind of PPE to keep those fumes out of your mouth, out of your nose. Okay, this stuff is toxic. You don't want to be burning plastic and inhaling those. Okay, so that's why I got the respirator. All right, so grab the tool. Now, I do like this tool. I've used this tool in the past. It's a very good tool. Like I said, though, it's just you know, it does put off some nasty stuff. So gotta figure out which one we want to use here. We might just use the line, but I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna have to make it very big, so we're going to try the line first. So the way that this tool works is you put this in here. It's a hot knife. Okay, you plug it in and it turns hot, so I'm going to plug it in. Okay, and hopefully you guys can see me here. Get the little stand. There's a stand that comes with it too. Let me get the drill, get the bucket so you can see that. Okay. Alright, let me put this on. I can stick my beard inside. Alright, so the goal, if you guys can hear me, the goal is we're just going to make slits inside these corners here, big enough for an airline to fit through. Okay. We got our respirator on. All right, got our tool. Yeah, I don't know if this is the best line. Whew. I might have to switch off to the other thing. You can see we're making progress, but I think it's too thin. Okay, so this stuff cools down pretty instantly, so I don't have to worry about that. We're going to use this one. All right, and then this is a little bit bigger here, so I should be able to just kind of go all the way through that plastic right there. Alright. And we're not going to make these very big. Just big enough for an airline to kind of go through. This might have been easy just drilling the holes, but I think it's, you know, I think it should give it a little more professional look. That's why I'm doing it like this. Okay. There we go. Oof. Alright, so you can see that, how we just got that gap right there. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I want to take a line here. Let me find my air tube line. Alright, we're going to test it. Alright, we got air tube line. Alright, we're just going to test it. So, you can see it's almost big enough, right? It's almost big enough, but not quite as wide as we actually need it. All right, so we're gonna do it again. I'm gonna turn it back on here. We're just gonna round out the corner here. And this might actually be it. Okay, let's test it again. Bam! So it sits in there. So that's what we want, right? We want this little slit to be able to sit our airline, because when we stick on our lid, we want the lid to be able to sit on there flat. So you can kind of see that, right? So it kind of almost sits on there flat. And I may have to make a small slit in the lid there, but it's not a big deal. Okay, we just want that to kind of sit in there nice and flat and easy. The line's not getting squished. We want good airflow in there. That looks about perfect. Except on one side, it's a little bit thinner on one side. All right. So I'm just going to round it out a little bit. It's not a big deal. This is why we wear the PPE. Okay. All right, I think that looks, yeah, that's really good now. That's super good. All right, so now we just do the opposite side. So we got one line going through here, and then we can have one line going through here. I'm not going to do all four corners. All right, I think that's, we don't need something like that. This is a DIY, like I said. This is not a professional project or anything. All right, I just started this whole idea because I have the tool, so I figured might as well use it. And I don't like dealing with a lot of holes. So again, we just kind of just go up, and all we're doing is slicing through that plastic. That's all we're doing with this little tool. Okay. And I think I got that one actually. That one actually looks like a nicer cut than the other one. But I think that's it. I'll test it. And I can clean this up too with a knife and stuff like that, so it's gonna look a little bit better than what it does right now. But you get the idea. Okay, and look, the tube fits in there. It actually fits in there really, really, really nice on this one. Alright, so the next step is we want to make sure our lid's gonna fit in there. And that fits nicely, but I can tell you what, we may need a little cut. Now this is going to be a little bit more difficult. So I'm not sure how I want to deal with something like this. It's about in the middle, isn't it? Alright, so all we gotta do is we're just making a little cut here on the lid itself to ensure that the line can go in that little slit, okay? And it just won't be hanging down. Okay, so I think I got a nice little slit there. All right, and then we gotta do. So you gotta do the other one right here, and this don't have to be perfect. Okay, all we're doing is just making a little fine cut in plastic. Okay, and I'll show you exactly what I did in a second here. Alright, woo. Let that calm down. Okay. I think I got it all done. Now I'll show you what I did. I can turn off this, okay, take off this respirator. I don't know how good you guys could hear my voice, but oof, that is, that's nasty, nasty. Anyway, so here's what we did. Made a little cut in the lid here, okay? And then on this side, we also made a little cut in the lid, all right? So the idea is that the lid should be able to kind of fit on without killing the line, right? Because we don't want the line to, you know, we don't want the line to be squished or anything like that. We want everything to be nice. The nice thing is the lid doesn't have to fit on perfectly. I'm not gonna, you know, like put on the lid heavy duty or anything. We're just kind of gonna set it on there like this. Nice and loose in a way. I just want it to, you know, to be on there. So I think that looks real good. It's clean, somewhat, and it works. The next step is we got to clean up this mess. Okay. I'll tell you what, that respirator is hot. It is real hot. Nice thing about this tool too is unlike a soldering iron or anything like that, as soon as we turn it off, it's pretty much cold, which is super nice because you can kind of put away your tools immediately. You don't have to worry about it too awfully much. All right, let's get this all out of here. So now we're going to dump this out. Okay. And I'm going to dump all this out. I'm going to get my station here cleaned up, okay? And then we'll go on to the next step, which is filling this bucket up with RO water and then pretty much getting our plant ready for transplant. Okay, so we're actually going to be transplanting something in this, and real excited to kind of get it out of its current container. All right, now that we have everything cleaned up, the next part of this is we need to prepare the air pump Alright, before we start filling everything up and getting nutrients and all that ready. Now, because this is a 2 output pump, I will be using 2 lines along with 2 air stones. Okay, so we don't have any sort of irrigation or anything like that. So the way I'm going to do this pretty much is I'm going to make this equal length. I think this is a 6.5 foot length air line. Alright, we're just going to cut it in half. Alright, we got equal lengths. Next thing I'm going to do is we need to install the check valves. Now, what a check valve is supposed to do is supposed to protect your air pump, okay? So that way, if any water or anything back flushes, it doesn't get into your air pump. I believe that's what it's for. And the way that you install this is you blow on it. You can hear that air is coming out, right? So if air is coming out, then that needs to face the air stone. If you can't blow on it, that part of it needs to go towards the air pump. Okay? So that way the water, it doesn't backwash. Okay. So way we're going to do this is, again, we're going to take one of our lines. We're going to snip. We snipped. Alright, so now we got 2. Alright. We're going to hook up our air line here. I'm going to push this in. Just verifying. Alright, and then we're going to stick that line on the air pump. And sometimes these air lines can be a little tricky. This plastic is actually very good though, I will say. It's very malleable. And yeah, fits on there nice and snug. Okay? And then what I like to do is I just like to test it, you know? Just test it. See if you got everything hooked up right. I'm pretty sure I got everything hooked up right, but I do have a plug here on the island. Okay? Now I'm not sure if I got it hooked up right. I might have had that reversed. Oh my god. Yeah, now I feel something. Alright, I had that reversed. Yeah, you want, I told you guys, right, you want the air going towards the air stone. Alright, I just had the check valves actually reversed. Now I can actually feel, the air going through the check valve. Alright, and that's exactly what we want. So it's always good to check your work before you put, before you start finalizing everything. Alright? But you can kind of hear it. Alright? And I can feel it, which is nice. Alright? So I'm going to unplug it. And now the other end that we cut, we're going to put this on. And then this is going to connect to our air stone. Okay? So you're going to have something like this. You're going to have your air stone, you're going to have your check valve, Alright, then you're going to have that line connecting to the pump. And now because we have two, we got to do this twice. Alright, then the other part is going to connect to the other end of the check valve, like so. And then this one is going to connect to your air stone. Cool. So we got everything connected. Air pump is good. Let's verify that it works, everything, before we go to the next step. Okay. And I can hear the air actually trying to push out these air stones, which is fantastic. So you unplug. Alright, cool. So that step is done. The next step is adding our water, getting our plant, and getting everything ready for transplant. Alright, so I gotta go get some RO water, and then I'm gonna fill up some jugs. I'm gonna fill this up, and I will bring you guys back. Alright, now that we got our bucket filled up with RO water, sorry I didn't film that, guys, but carrying 4 gallons of water is it's a little heavy, especially to put it on top of this island. We got our RO water, okay? Now for this one, we are going to be using the drip hydro nutrients, alright? And I'm going to be testing out a new product that I got called the Great White. It's another mycorrhiza fungi. Alright, I think I'm pronouncing that right. And yeah, I'm pretty excited. So let's go ahead and get started here. Now, if you guys have seen any of my other videos, or if you have not, Drip Hydro, it's a nutrient solution. Alright, it's a 2-parter. Well, really it's a 3-parter, but it's got two main parts. Okay, so you got base A, you got base B, and then you have this flex. Now I'm not sure you have to add this flex until you start getting into flower and stuff like that, but I'll always just add it just to give the plants options for nutrients. Okay, and for this we're going to dilute 6 to 13 milliliters per gallon. All right. Now I really don't like to go by that feeding chart, but for 4 gallons of water, what I do is I have a tablespoon here, okay, and I fill up base A twice, and I fill up base B twice, and then I'll fill up flex once, okay. So that's kind of how I do it. I don't have a good milliliter thing to measure out, all right, but usually this has the ppm about where I like it. And I'm making a small mess here, but that's okay. You can clean it up. And I like to just stir it up real good. Okay. And then I want to get a napkin of some sort. Got some napkins here. And the only thing I don't like about this, I don't even know if it's not the nutrients itself, it's the bottles, okay? So I have a very big problem with this base A bottle. It's split. So you can kind of see, I know this is off topic, but it did split at the top here, and it leaks. It leaks just a little bit, just enough where I have to, I have to clean it off every single time I use it, which is kind of, it's a bummer and it's annoying, but I'll deal with it, and then hopefully the next batch I get is not like this. Okay, So that works. All right. Well, all I'm going to do is I'm going to stir this up. Just, you know, don't have to be perfect right now, but I do like to make sure it's nice and stirred up. Okay. And then I have my cup here. Okay. A couple different cups so we can keep the table nice and clean. Alright, so next we do base B. And before we do base B, I want to check the ppm. And I tend to do this after mixing up each version of the nutrient. So my ppm right now, that's 200 and something, which isn't bad. Alright, so base B. I do the same thing here. So do a whole tablespoon, another whole tablespoon. Okay. Now stir this up. Okay, stick that in there. And then because we're using RO water, we have to use CalMag as well, which is calcium and magnesium. Okay, if we was not using RO water, probably wouldn't have to use it, but the RO water kind of forces us to use it, which is fine. Alright, so we're roughly at a 400 and something ppm. Not too shabby, not too shabby. ppm will be a little high on this one, I guess. It'll be in the 500s, but again, I'm not too concerned. This isn't a baby plant that we're transplanting, so this is one that's already established and it's growing like a weed. That's why we needed to get it into this 5-gallon bucket. So, so for the flex, we do 1 to 2 milliliters per gallon. So I may just do a half a tablespoon here. Alright, about a half. Okay, that's good. Next up, so we need to use our calcium and magnesium. So same thing. Now for CalMag, I'm probably going to use the whole. I'm going to use the whole tablespoon here. With calcium and magnesium, I never know if it's too much or too little. It's just one of those things, but it does raise the ppm up a little bit. But I'd rather have a little bit more CalMag than if I would need. And then we can just verify later if the plants start looking a little funny, then I know to dial it back, but it should be alright. Okay. And again, we check the ppm. And the final ppm of this batch of water is 570. So a little higher than what I typically like. I usually like about 400 and something, but again, that's usually for baby plants. For this adult, this plant that's almost an adult plant, it's 575 is pretty good. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it. All right. So for the next step, because we're using the Great White, I've never used this stuff ever. Okay. What it says to do is for applications, we need 1 teaspoon per 10 gallons. Can be applied using solution mix below. Can be applied directly to growing media. Okay. So, I'm going to use a half a teaspoon. All right. Now I know a half a teaspoon is 5 gallons. This is roughly this is a 5-gallon bucket, but it's roughly about 4 gallons of water. So we should be okay with you know, it being a little off. We just don't want to we don't want to overdo it. I feel like I don't know anything about this particular product, but what I can say is if it's anything like Orca, it should be pretty good. So I'm going to get over the sink, and we're just going to dump a little bit, and try to be careful here. Okay, so we got about half a teaspoon of this stuff. Okay, dump it. I'm going to dump it in. And I'm going to use a cup here to mix this stuff in. It's a little. I'm going to go ahead and stick my whole hand in here just to get it nice and stirred up here. It's a little dusty. A little dusty. Okay. That should be pretty good for the nutrients. The next step is going to be getting the, I guess I'm going to, no, the next step actually is we need to test the pH. Sorry about that. I'm getting ahead of myself here. All right. So, got our pH reader. I like to shake it out really, really good. Okay. And the pH so far is dropping. Whoa. I'm gonna stir it up real well. pH meter is going all kinds of different directions here. It's trying to stabilize. pH is reading at 6.22. So 622, 621. Hopefully you guys can read that. Okay. So I know it says 605 probably when I showed you, but it's about 6.2, and that's about where my RO water kind of sets in a way. So right around in that area is fine with me. Actually, it's about perfect. So 622. Okay. So I'm okay with that. Alright, next step is probably take this bucket in the other room before we do the actual transplant. But let me go ahead and go get the plant and show you what we're going to transplant, and I will take you in the other room as well so you can see the whole entire process of this, and I'll show you the kind of the setup I'm going to go with on this. And let me go get the plant. So this is the plant that we're going to be transplanting, and as you can see, this is why I need to transport it. It's outgrowing its container. It's binding up. Okay, this is a cucumber plant. This is a DWC system, even though it's in a mason jar, guys. The roots are fantastic. Look at those roots. Great, great, great roots. This method has worked fabulous. All right, and the only problem is it's a cucumber plant and it's growing, and we need to put it in a bigger container so that way it can start hanging on to different stuff and it can shoot up. Okay, so this is why I needed to do this particular setup. All right, but super excited about this thing. I need to get this in its final destination. Okay, I'm gonna bring you guys along with me, and we will get we will get this whole entire thing set up and get this plant in its final place. So hopefully it can grow up and it can give me some cool cucumbers, because that's why we're growing it. All right. So we got our plant right here. We have our overhead light right here. I'll show you some B-roll footage of that. Hopefully you guys can see me in frame. It's really hard. I do apologize. But the next thing that we're going to do is we need to give this plant some air, okay? So I'm going to plug in the pump here. You can hear it. All right. And then we need to take our air stones. All right, and I like to untangle everything. All right. And we just stick our air stones through those little slits that we made, okay? So there's one. All right. Here's two. Verify that everything works correctly. Hopefully you guys can see those bubbles. All right, that's what we want. We want those big bubbles. All right. So you guys can see that. And then stick our lid on and we are good. We're good. The plant is transplanted. We got everything. We got a little bucket system here with our light. And yeah, everything is good now. So I will show you some B-roll footage of the light and how I got all of that set up. But this plant should be good. And then what I will do following, when this plant gets big enough and it starts binding up, then I have a little hanger right here on my wall, and I can start trellising this up on that. So that should be good. But yeah, this plant should be good to go. I do need to take some rocks though, some leca balls or clay pebbles, whatever you want to call them. We need to fill in these holes because I don't want light leaks in these holes. We don't want this water to become nasty and funky. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and protect that at all costs. Just to make sure that the plant doesn't get any sort of nasty bacteria and light leaks and all of that stuff that could really hurt this. So got a lot of extras here, and I think that's good. I mean, there ain't no light that can sit in there, but yeah, I think this is going to do awesome. So guys, that about covers how to make a custom DIY DWC setup. As you can see, it's not that hard. There's just a couple of steps, and you don't have to go as elaborate as I did with making the slits in the sides and using a hot knife and all that stuff. But if you want to, then feel free. Just make sure that you wear your PPE. You don't want to inhale those fumes or anything like that. So if you learned something, give me a like and subscribe. It does help out the channel. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or anything like that, or if you're just if you just have some questions regarding anything that I did in this particular video, then also feel free to leave those down below. I do get back to you guys. And until next time, show me your garden. Bye guys. Thanks for watching.